Gramad's texting me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
That'll Mick is?
Yeah, he goes, have you seen Barry? I'm like, I'm the one who's been telling everybody to watch Barry on HBO.
Oh, yeah, everyone's talking about that.
Awesome. It is very good. You'd love it. You'd love it.
Good on your chin.
It's so funny.
I heard that everyone talking about it.
Oh,
We just don't have HBO, so.
you know, I borrow Otter's. God damn. You,
Sorry.
What are you, one of them dinosaurs that
First
spits on
time.
people? Oh, is it? That's your first, huh? First is always the best. Unfortunately.
Sorry.
I'm glad I was there for you.
Yes, thank you. But anyway, this is the Rembrandts podcast. I'm here. This is Rob, and with me, as usual, as always, is Jay, Jeff, and Earl. And we just got back from seeing Marvel's Avengers Infinity War Part 1. Not to be confused with our Part 1. I suggest that we do a little mini review, non-spoiler, or, and then something I can post tomorrow morning, like 2, 4, 5 minutes, whatever. That we don't talk about specifics. We talk about things we liked or didn't like.
Okay.
So Jeff just got up to get a drink. Jay's messing with his phone. Earl, why don't you go ahead and tell us, just spoiler-free, what you think, your feelings on the matter.
In 3 words, I love it. Well worth any money you spend on it.
Oh.
I think it was really good. Visually, I was concerned with that many characters all at once being on the same 2-hour, 30-minute movie.
It was a long movie.
Would they lose that substance? And I think they did a really good job.
Okay.
Usually
it's his.
No, usually it's mine.
That's true too. Because you're sitting so far away, it's usually not you at all.
I like the cinematography. I think the CGI, there was a lot of it, but at times it didn't feel overwhelming to me. I enjoyed the battle scenes. I liked how they transitioned from scene to scene, and we'll go into more detail when we do the spoiler version. But if you were to give it, I'd give it a 4.5.
Out of 4.
Oh.
So that's 4.5 out of
I thought we
4.
had 5.
The 5th is like Star Wars, like a perfect movie, and all those Star Wars aren't perfect,
Right.
but we have out of 4, and then the 5th is the perfect one. So if you're saying 4.5 out of 4, that's awesome.
To me, I would say it's a 4.5. I mean, out of all the movies we've talked about in the last 3 or 4 years doing this,
Really?
there's a couple that rival it. Deadpool, obviously.
Well,
set the
yeah.
bar.
Yeah, rival, definitely.
For the substance and content
Yeah.
of a comic book, true comic book.
For me, Logan to be in there too.
Logan
Yeah.
was a good one, but yeah, this steps up above even the Star Wars ones. That Not-
blasphemy!
not Star Wars, but the last couple Star Wars movies that have come out.
Okay.
Actually, you know me.
I was going to ask you about that because you and I geeked out hard over Last Jedi.
We did, and I enjoyed Last Jedi, but I think this actually surpassed that one from a comic book fanboy who loved that comic book in the 90s, this series.
The Infinity Gauntlets,
Right,
the Infinity, what they call them, gems, the Infinity Gems.
So it was the I can't remember the title of it, but essentially it was a series of comic books that dealt with Thanos in kind of this concept. So yeah,
4.5 out of 4. That's outstanding.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
Okay,
I'll
Jeff,
stand by that.
Yeah.
you're up.
Well, I'm going to have to piggyback with him and say I love the movie. I thought it was great. And I'm going to also point out that you mentioned something that I was going to mention, that my biggest concern was they were bringing in so many different, they're bringing in the Thors and the rivalry going on there, and they're also bringing in the Guardians, and all these different movies and acting is a little bit different than all the others, meaning
They have their own flavor. Each one has its own flavor.
And my concern was, well, they're bringing them all together. Are they gonna mesh
Under the title Avengers, no less. So is it going to be just another Avengers
And
movie?
with them all coming from different directors,
Yeah.
and now you're going into this director.
Oh, yeah.
which was
brother directors.
Yeah, and the writing for this movie really blended everything perfectly. They had the right Thor to deal. How they were able to bring everybody together. I thought it was great. And that was one of my big concerns. There was a lot of funny lines in it. They definitely stuck to the funny people, like the Thor from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And then Infinity
Batista
the Avengers and all those.
Yeah.
Or Guardians. Yeah, that was the perfect how to bring them into the Avengers, bringing those group together and then this group together, and then they meshed at the end, which I thought was beautifully done. So whoever was writing that must have thought about how do I get them all to bring them
the
together.
interplay with each character.
Yeah.
Who would bounce off of each other? Or work.
Yeah,
and I know
they did
that's
that
what
very
Earl
well.
was leaning on, and and that's exactly.
And there were some of those scenes I was waiting for. Like, I want to see these two in the same room. That was
Groot,
awesome.
spot on.
Oh, man.
Spot on. Again,
Groot.
the way everything was so seamless, and I'm also becoming a big fan of the colorings they're using in these movies. And it started with I can't remember the name of the movie where they adding new colors like the purples and the pinks, and they did the same thing.
That's
in
probably
this,
one of the
like
Thors.
within Ragnarok.
Yeah.
With Ragnarok they did. Well, even before that it was Suicide Squad. So
okay, yeah.
And then they did it with
Filmmaking
Ragnarok.
in general, yeah.
And then Ragnarok filtered in a little bit, not overwhelming, into this. But I like how I managed to forget that some of those guys weren't around in the other, even though I completely knew it.
Yeah.
And then they brought it up. Oh, you've been gone a while, so let me catch you up.
It's good for exposition.
Yeah, but you instantly don't think of that, and I love that they remind you, hey, that last one, even though we had talked about it in the podcast previous. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I'm not going to get long-winded because we're going to go into a bunch of little individual stuff. I loved it. I thought it was great. And that's really much at where I'm standing with that.
Now, for Jay, he walked out. You walked out of the theater muttering something. What was that you said?
Oh.
What the fuck was that?
What was that?
What was that?
What was that all about?
What was that all about?
And of course, we all Okay, Jason. Without giving up too many details, what's your question? You've watched all the movies up to this point.
Oh, I don't get to review it. Like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is your opinion.
All right, so.
Without being spoiled.
I disagree with you nerds.
Whatever, dude.
Probably was.
Who's more nerdy, the nerd or the nerd who follows him?
Right. Well, I don't know who follows who, but anyway, I thought they pushed on the comedy way too much.
Really?
I think that.
Really? Because I saw you laughing the whole time.
No, that was not me. That was him.
Well, I was sitting next to you. I saw you.
There's a few chuckles, yeah, but
You were expecting more dark.
One way or the other. Obviously with Guardians, they had more comedy, and it was more natural. Same with Thor. They put more comedy, but it was more natural with some of these movies. In this one, I think it was pushed. Just the way it was. It didn't seem like they naturally had the jokes there, so they just pushed them in to kind of make it ha-ha funny. And this wasn't a movie that's really supposed to be funny. Yeah, every superhero movie, you got zingers in there and whatnot, but a lot of it was it seemed pushed.
Okay. And other than humor, what about the story in general for you?
There was a lot of build up. I mean, you're talking 15, 20 years build up to the story.
15, 20 characters.
Yeah, 15,
all to be
20,
serviced.
20
Yeah.
characters. As far as the story, I think it's a great idea. It's a concept that's been around forever. What do you do if you have too much? It's the reason why we all go to war is over resources.
That's the excuse.
Well,
but yeah, I get what you mean.
yeah,
I know what you mean.
So what do you do with the growing population that can't sustain itself? It's the ultimate ethical question.
Okay, now we're getting into specifics.
Well, you asked me about the story.
Okay, so why don't you give us your spoiler-free review, and then we'll because believe me, I'm chomping at the bit to dive into the specifics too.
Well, no, I wasn't going into specifics.
Okay.
I think it was a great story and a great way that they put out. If I say any more, I will actually give out spoilers.
Yeah.
But it's
So aside from the humor, didn't make it a perfect movie for you.
No.
Did you enjoy the movie for what it was?
Which is usually your shtick. Like that's usually your thing.
I spent a lot of money on this movie. And,
I know you did. Yeah, you did.
You did.
And,
Jay, okay, let's stop right there. Jay got 3 sets of the popcorn and soda collector's item, whatever, cups. And they all come with little figures, and I'll put pictures on later, little figures of Thanos and what. We're only missing one, apparently. We're missing Spider-Man.
Groot.
And Groot, so we're missing 2. Because Jeff went to get one, and he's like, fuck that, it's too expensive.
Well, I only wanted one aspect. You had to buy the whole pack
To get
I'm
the,
like,
I know.
I'm good with that.
So that was like $90
it was money well spent based on the fact that I invested so much money to get to this point, like everybody else in the world has.
Yeah. Well, plus it's going to be in our collection. Like the Star Wars cup that we brought back last time is still here. All the other things that I brought back are all in the room and whatnot. So yeah, it's part of our collection now.
Yeah.
Would you go see this movie again in the theater?
No.
Would you see it again, rent it, or on DVD?
No.
Really?
Such a liar.
So you wouldn't do a
Such a
Marvel's
liar.
marathon and
Okay,
say, screw
that's
this
not.
movie?
Okay. They would. Earl's getting bent out of shape here. Let's back up.
No,
Get a seatbelt for this guy.
In all fairness,
Sure.
I don't buy DVDs and watch movies like that.
Yeah, you're not a repeat watcher, really.
No, not really. I mean, if something like Deadpool, like I've watched a million times just because it's,
That's our Sunday morning go-to after this.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing is that I watched Deadpool the other day because it came on TBS.
Oh no!
Like,
Deadpool's on regular TV.
yeah,
now?
on regular
How?
TV. Exactly. I was curious. How are they gonna pull this? I watched it because I was curious. How are they gonna pull this off? But if it flies by, it might catch my eye. But usually the Marvel movies, the DC movies, they don't really catch me. There's only a
Funny,
few.
because
that
there's
do.
several of the Marvel movies I've watched over and over and over.
Oh,
and
me
over.
too. For
I
years.
own them.
Yeah, I own all of them. Yeah.
You know, real quick, and this is kind of back to, this is what DC and Marvel. The DC needs to look at Marvel and say, that's how you're supposed to bring them all together.
Right.
Not throw them in our face at the beginning. I'm not going to get angry right now. I've had a little RC in me, all right, and it's flowing through my blood. But you brought it up, and it started clicking in my head, and I started steaming in my ears. But remember, that was my biggest complaint with DC was threw everybody together in one movie, and you're supposed to go, well, come on now. I mean, how?
No build up.
There was nothing. And DC has got to look at Marvel and be like,
Marvel's done the slow roll.
that's what
They
we've been
had
saying the whole
the
time.
long-term plan. In
Well,
there,
they threw
and
the
they're
dice
still
first.
This
not
goes
done.
back, but this
They
goes
are
back to what I
still
said
not done.
before. They're trying to catch up in one or two movies,
And they
and
can't
it's
do that.
failing them.
You
Right?
can't do that.
Wonder Woman, they're starting to do it right.
Yeah.
But they should have brought Batman before they did the Batman versus, because I don't know.
But how many times are you gonna tell that backstory?
Well, after this movie,
Okay, we talk about DC or Marvel again.
yeah, okay.
We're talking about DC, I think. We're talking about.
Because I just watched Justice League last week for the first time.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
It's not
Okay.
bad.
It
It's
was-
just
it was
bad
good.
compared
it's
to
not.
Avengers.
It's not bad.
No,
That's
it's
right,
just not as
but
good as
it's-
Avengers.
Because they didn't sit there and rehash the backstory over and over
Yeah.
and over.
Right.
I don't need that.
No.
Right. But my point being is DC tried to throw in one movie all these characters at once with no build up, like what's been going on with Marvel for the past. Because I do know. Well, let's
Yeah,
move
I mean-
on.
I mean,
because
let me
there's some
knock-
other things.
Let me knock my spoiler free
Yeah.
out, and then we'll move on to the specifics. I love the movie. I agree with Earl. I'd say 4.5. Absolutely. I still, for me, liked Last Jedi a tad more, but that's because of a love that has nothing to do. I did not grow up.
5? Did we both?
I gave that a 5. I don't know about you, but I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I think I did.
The reason, but for me, is Star Wars holds nostalgia more for me because, as I said before, I was not a Marvel kid. I did not grow up with the Infinity Gem stuff, so that's also part of why DC is so disappointing for me because I did grow up with those stories, and those are the ones that I know in and out. And in preparation for watching this today, I watched Justice League this morning, and while watching Avengers, you guys are right. I looked at it and said, okay, this is what Justice League should have been.
Right.
Because Thanos and Darkseid are obvious analogs to each other.
Yeah,
and
they even talked about that.
it's in the battles. It was almost like, well, those look like parademons. There's stuff that just reminded me of Darkseid and Apocalypse. But then I reminded myself, well, the comics did that for years. Thanos and Darkseid were kind of even up, and I'd like to see a crossover between those two. But as far as spoiler free, I get what you're saying about the humor, but I think it was injected. But I think there's a reason. Because Civil War was so dark, not too dark, not like DC dark, but it was dark for Marvel. And Winter Soldier was dark for Marvel. And they kind of had to, and now they swung back with Ragnarok. They swung back with Guardians 2. And I think they were trying to mix those two things together. And I think that, and we'll get to specifics later, I think that Tony embodied the seriousness of what was going on. And the comic characters like Quill and Batista and all those funny characters were allowed to continue to be funny. But I think that Thor especially was in the middle. He played the dramatic and he played the funny because he just come off Ragnarok. So, and the total straight was obviously Captain America and T'Challa and all, those guys were all totally playing it straight. The pivotal character for me, and it's going to be the pivotal character I think in the end is the prediction, it's Bruce Banner.
Yes.
He's the pivotal character for me. and we'll get to that. Now, this is officially the end of the spoiler-free. I will post this. Now, spoilers. We are going to talk about specifics. And leading to that, I don't really necessarily want to rehash the entire story because we do that all the time, and it's kind of, we don't need to go into that much. But we can talk about specifics. I think we should focus on, this is just my opinion, about specific characters and specific groups that were given their moments. Mm-hmm. And I think that was done incredibly well, which I think is why the humor came into it, because you can't give Galaxy Guardians their moment without the humor.
Right.
It just doesn't work because Jesus Christ, Batista's so funny.
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Movie, yeah.
And you can't give fucking Doctor Strange, because he's got a dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
This really dark.
The two, I was surprised by a couple of the combinations, but the characters that I really wanted to see in the same room together were Strange and Tony, which were perfect.
You got that.
And Tony and Peter, which was also perfect because they're the natural leaders of these groups, and so for them to clash, and they're all Strange called Tony a douchebag.
You meant
what
Quill.
the fuck?
And preface that you meant Peter Quill, not Peter Parker.
Oh, right, Peter Quill.
Oh yeah, thank you. Because I was gonna say
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Star-Lord. You're right. But when Tony called, or when Doctor Strange called Tony a douchebag or something, it was just really funny. I'm like, you guys are both douchebags. The only thing I have with that, though, is that it doesn't make any sense that Tony wouldn't know who Doctor Strange was. Not because he's Doctor Strange, but because he's MD Doctor Strange, like one of the greatest neurosurgeons, whatever, in the world. Tony would know who that is. Yeah. It just kind of struck me that he didn't know who that was.
Especially in the Doctor Strange movie where he bypasses Rhodey's.
Yeah, exactly. Because that would imply that Tony put it in for that. But I think it would have been better if Tony had been like, Doctor Strange? He's like, yeah, like, what are you doing here?
Didn't you fuck over my friend?
Yeah, exactly. Something to that effect.
But it was good. It was good. It was a good duality of two very pessimistic, snarky, just dark.
Well, you're talking about two normal humans that became whatever it is. Like both of them are very strong-headed individuals.
Before they
and
got
then
to
together,
yeah.
Before and then they meet, and they were very. Like I point out to certain people in our unit, they're very bullheaded.
Yeah.
And when they faced each other, neither was willing to back down.
And both thought
but yet also were in the same frame of mind. They just didn't.
Because
what I loved about that, though, is putting all three of them, Quill, Stark, and Strange, in one battle together. Yes. Everyone else is fighting their own shit. Right. You notice Captain was not really in charge of this shit at all. He was just kind of there. Very afterthought. But they served him well. I think they did great. And there was a hint in there we'll get to in this.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Okay. But I guess we're kind of going to have to go a little bit chronologically just so we can make sure we touch on everything. If the movie starts out with Thor, where Ragnarok leaves off. You missed like an hour there where Thanos is kicking everybody's ass. Yeah. And I think that's great. We don't need to see that battle. The aftermath was perfect.
No, yeah.
And even then, you could start seeing a little bit of his manipulation of reality from the Reality Stone.
Yeah.
I think it was, this is what I loved about the humor part. They played the Hulk card like they have done in like 2 or 3 movies before this. Yeah, we've got a Hulk. And they even make that line. The Hulk comes in and proceeds to get his bitch ass slapped. And for the rest of the film, Banner has performance anxiety for the rest of the movie. Hulk's like, fuck, I'm out.
Well, no. Well, add to that. The Banner's saying, Hulk, I need you. And then the moments where Hulk comes out and says, no, and goes back, you're like, okay.
It's like he sees Thanos come, he's like, no.
Yeah. Literally, and we're not making this up. You literally, there's a moment where they're talking to each other and they're in the same, in the same
scene.
You know what we're talking about when you watch the movie.
It's almost Smeagol-ish, where they're kind of like two personalities warring with each other. Yeah. Even Banner's like, dude, we got to work some shit out, man.
Like you can see the
come on, you big green asshole.
It takes over half his face, and then it goes right back to white. And I'm just like, because
it's totally a penis reference,
right? But in this particular movie, the entire movie, I'm like, okay, and this is jumping way ahead, but it's not because when he's in the Iron Man suit, I'm expecting it to just explode.
Ignited too.
It never happened, and I'm not gonna sit here and say I was so angry it didn't. I loved that it didn't.
I agree
because that was one of those. I'm not gonna say cock tease, but. You were literally
essentially yes.
The one thing you expect to happen doesn't happen, and you swear to God, at any moment it's gonna happen, and it don't. And the whole argument between Bruce and Hulk, it is the best. Hulk, come out. Oh, I got him. And you see his skin turn green.
Yeah.
Then you see his Hulk come out and say, no, and then revert back to white. And you can't help but go,
Negative.
what the hell is going on? You're watching this movie and you're just cracking up because it's very funny.
But that also tells you, I mean, obviously we're going to be going back and forth, but that just shows you how intimidating this character Thanos is.
Yeah.
You know, and in my mind, Thanos is a character that you love.
Oh yeah.
No matter.
And I'll get to why in a little bit.
How bad or evil.
He has some sense about it.
The man, this being, his conceptually was his thought process
was logical.
Logical. It was very logical.
It's very Spock-like.
But anyways,
Very much.
No. Yeah, but
can we come
the
back
needs
to
of the
Thanos
many
later because
we'll
I
come
have
back to
some more to
Thanos.
what he wants to say.
So, but. Yeah.
Just for everybody who's not, you can't see us obviously. Jeff just raised his hand.
Well, because I don't want to interrupt on somebody.
That's all right.
I know what it sounds like on the radio when like 5 people are talking at once.
I know.
And you're like, what's going on?
We're not as bad as we used to be.
I'm saying it by pointing at the guy.
To set that opening scene straight off the bat, fucking death and destruction.
Yeah.
Even for a Disney movie, death and destruction. You knew shit just went down. I mean, there was no.
The way he killed.
You're still
Heimdall.
I forgot you were here.
Yeah.
Well, he killed Heimdall.
He killed Heimdall.
And then the way he
Loki.
took out Loki.
The way he killed Loki was that was kind of brutal. That was kind of. I mean, there wasn't real violence to it, but it was violent.
It was violent.
And
It was intimate.
Yeah.
Very intimate.
It was very.
He had him up there.
Forgive me for. It was very rapey. Very. It's like death is a personal thing. It's.
Were you expecting Loki to have him off to the side, letting a casted figure of himself?
I was expecting that, yeah.
And I still, in my head, think that that's what's going to happen, but I don't know.
I think it makes more sense to let him die.
Well, from what I'm hearing with the whole process of this particular Infinity War, I'm hearing that there's going to be...
Boy, they hinted at a lot of deaths. Jesus Christ, those teasing bastards.
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, my God. But, anyway... So, the first scene after the Hulk gets his ass handed to him was Jesus Christ. And it was a brawl. It wasn't a full-on superhero fight. It was a straight-up street fight brawl on the ground. Let him have his fun. And Thanos is just rope-a-doping him. He's just taking his shit. He's taking the hits. Like, all right, I'm ready now. I'm going to bust your ass. And just proceeds to nail him. Oh, it's so awesome. I just loved it. But I did like how Heimdall rescued Hulk. Because you kind of got that impression that Heimdall knew if anyone can make it back to Earth, it's him. If anyone can survive the transition back to Earth through the Rainbow Bridge, by random,
without being
it's going to be the Hulk, and without being a god, exactly. Yes, Jeff.
My take on that was of anybody that's going to be able to beat Thanos, it's going to be Hulk.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is why I feel that the whole Hulk not wanting to come out and fight plays into the next one.
You think he knows that? You think the Hulk knows that?
I think the Hulk's going to be like, you know what? It's got to be me.
Well, it's either him or it's got to be a tag team between him and Thor.
Or him and Hulkbuster.
Yeah.
Frankly, this is just a prediction. I think Banner's going to sacrifice himself in the next movie. I think he's the one who's going to die.
Well, like I said, this is my point of
Banner, not Hulk.
I know Banner because I remember
the
that
Hulk
comic
might too.
Well, I remember the comic series where Banner.
No,
this is where we're at right now.
That's how you got the Gray Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I remember that. I read that.
Well, right, but this is why I'm saying I think that it's gonna be Hulk who's gonna come out and say. He's going to wake up and be like, it's got to be me. I'm so angry right now. The only guy who can be... Because when he got his butt handed to him, I'm thinking to myself, well, at any minute now, Hulk's going to complete rage on Thanos. It didn't happen.
Because Hulk has no upper limit.
No, that's my point. And that's why I think it plays into the next one.
I think it was also an avoidance of Ex Machina by taking him out early in the movie because he is too powerful. Like, he just gets... There's like him... and the Titans, which of course Peter killed one when Peter called himself a Titan, killing, because he did. He killed his dad. His dad was a Titan.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other hints. Who else is as strong?
Peter killed a Celestial, not a Titan.
Okay, you're right.
Peter being
that's
Chris Pratt's
Quill. Yeah.
Star-Lord.
Sorry, Star-Lord.
Star-Lord is a Celestial, not a Titan.
Well, true by definition, but they're all gods in a way. They're all kind of in the DC universe. They'd be the new gods essentially. That's kind of the similar storyline.
The
Transformers, they'd be the quintessons.
Quintessons?
Yeah.
Quintessons?
Quintessons.
Okay, turn your card in, dude. You fucked up.
Yeah,
I watched that the other day too.
I gotta watch that again.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it great? But
Anyways.
Anyway.
I finally got the Transformers reference. All right.
all right, great. So we got that in, got that out of the way. Now, Jay, you've been awfully quiet for the last couple of minutes. Now, when I asked you earlier about your specific question, you said, "What is this about?" Why don't you go ahead and throw us a specific
Please.
question?
And
And Earl can fill in the comic gaps. And
so there was a symbol on the message that I don't know what that symbol
the
was.
very end?
Yeah.
That was
at the
Captain
teaser,
Marvel.
okay, this is the post-credit scene at the end.
Yeah, that's so that was flagging Captain Marvel, and she is
Brie
so
Larson's
Brie
playing
Larson
her.
playing
Yeah.
her in next year. So with Avengers 4 and Captain Marvel, they're going to be pretty much in the same month being released. Captain Marvel is basically the
Superman of
Superman
Marvel.
of Marvel.
Yeah.
So they're coming out of the Captain Marvel.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
And it
See,
takes
that's
place.
another thing I didn't know. It's just like Venom. I didn't know they were coming out.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Venom.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel. Yeah, and it's going to be the female Captain Marvel, as it should be.
And it's going to be a prequel.
Yeah.
Takes
Really.
place in the 90s.
So, but here's the thing: is Captain Marvel is going to be aired after Avengers 4, if I recollect.
Really? I don't think they would allude to her.
Check that. Make sure if it's going to be before or after.
We're checking where. Which one are you pointing at?
Just check the.
Oh.
Do Captain Marvel.
Do Captain Marvel. Well, yeah, you also got to be careful because Captain Marvel's another character in the DCU. But we won't get into that right now. So.
Well, while we're talking about it, one of the scenes that cracked me up was when Chris Pratt's character got all offended that they were calling him kind of doughy and fat.
Yeah.
And he goes, "All right,"
Because that's
well,
such a
then,
reference to him,
well,
to the actual actor.
Okay,
Yeah.
but if Earl's gonna know what I'm talking about here, for the past couple year or so, I've been talking about, well, first off, Chris Pratt's character in the movie says, "Well, all right, fine, it's all done. I'm gonna get a Bowflex."
Yeah.
I thought that was.
Now, how many times have I said, "I'm getting a Bowflex because I'm feeling fat"? No, he literally said when I told the unit we need to invest in this Bowflex, and I bought a Bowflex, and
Did
it's
you?
oh yeah, I love it. The M7, product placement, but it's a ball buster. I can only make 5 minutes on that thing, 5 to 7 minutes before I'm like, I'm done.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, and hey, it's a great machine. I'm not gonna get too detailed about it, but the scene when he said that, if you would have heard me laughing louder because it's literally one of the funniest scenes
This,
to me.
just to break it up for a second, this one says that both Ant-Man and Captain, obviously Ant-Man's coming out later this summer.
And he wasn't in this movie.
No, he wasn't. I noticed that too.
They were on house arrest.
talked
House
about it.
arrest. What's that? Go away.
playing?
It's playing something. I don't want it to play anything. Go away.
And who's the girl?
That's Brie Larson.
That's Brie Larson. She's
Oh.
Captain Marvel.
Brie
That's a
Larson?
composition. Like, that's a weird comp picture. But
It should
it's
be-
saying that Ant-Man and Captain Marvel are both coming out before Avengers 4.
Okay, good. That would make sense.
Okay, so it's going to be.
Get rid of that.
I can
That's
guarantee
annoying.
you what's going to happen is
Thank you.
it's going to be then it's going to be Captain Marvel first, but in the same month because they're supposed to be released in the same month. Is
Ant-Man and Captain Marvel?
No, Captain Marvel and Avengers 4
Ooh,
next
okay.
May.
Okay.
That's gonna
Well,
be
that's kind of what
exciting.
they did with Black Panther. It's just last month that we
Yeah,
went.
but it was
2 months ago.
Yeah, it was a couple
Okay,
months
they're talking
separated.
literally-
Still, though.
1
back to
month.
back.
That's a lot of.
So, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so to answer your question, Jay, that was Captain Marvel's symbol. So and the way that pager was set up is that a time.
Oh,
It's like
Like a
time-
quantum thing?
pager thingy.
like a
'cause there's-
tachyon pager or something?
Yeah. You know, I don't know.
Jay's like
Well-
lost. Like he has no
Well,
idea what we're talking
It
about.
would have to be because who uses pagers these days? So it would have to send.
But
to
did you
a
see all the little
1990s
wires and was re-engineered, like
Well,
reverse
there was
engineered?
the pager, and then there was that thing attached.
Exactly,
To it.
yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Which
Because-
actually through time would make sense.
Because if Thanos, and obviously we're fast forwarding, can use the fucking time, the time stone to do whatever the fuck he wants to do, at least initially, because now his gauntlet's pretty fried, so we don't think it has any more power, or we don't know.
It needs to recharge.
Then
Solar
who
power.
can say that we can't go back in the past?
That's the one thing they haven't done.
However, we'll talk about it here towards the end.
And of course, time travel. Jay's gonna
well,
freak out.
because there's actually a comic book
well, there's many
series that talks about after the Infinity War
Well, yeah.
from the 90s.
Now remind me, where does Secret War and Stone War kind of? Because Secret War is the big one I remember as a kid.
I want to say Secret War was before and Infinity War was
Yeah,
after,
that makes sense.
but
What was the
Don't
Secret
hold
War about?
that one, I didn't read that one.
I mean, I wonder if Venom's going to mention that because in the Venom we talked about earlier about the Venom movie, Venom was a big part of Secret War because that's when Spider-Man had the black suit on. That's where
Right.
Venom came from. But anyway, we're kind of going off topic here. So remind me, after Hulk gets his ass kicked, what happens directly after that? This movie jumps around so much because it's trying to service so many different
What happens
storylines.
after that?
Yeah, Hulk gets shipped back to Earth.
Right.
Right. Loki dies.
He lands right in
Heimdall and Loki die.
Heimdall and Loki die.
Doctor Strange's building,
which is the
New York.
Sanctorum,
Sanctorum, yeah,
whatever, I forget what it's called, Sanctum Sanctorum or something like that. And
that's where Stark and Strange meet.
Yeah, wow, that was a pretty epic meeting.
Yeah.
But of course, before that was the whole best sandwich talk, because Wong wanted a fucking sandwich.
Okay.
No, the currency. The currency.
I don't know what currency he said. I've got like 200 doubloons or something, and he goes, "What's that?"
200 rupees.
Rupees, and he's like, "What's that?" That's like $1.50. Like, maybe they'll make you a mythical sandwich or a metaphorical sandwich or some shit.
I thought he said tuna melt. I'm really thinking about.
Yeah, he did. He said tuna melt. It's like, I really feel like a tuna melt.
Yeah.
And that's when Hulk went bam right through the ceiling. Which is reminiscent of the Loki joke. I've been following for 30 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, see? That one's funny. Well, we won't get still further on, but the whole Thor hammer thing comes back again. I really kind of want to mention about Vision. Vision, we find out where the Soul Stone's been all this time. Gamora gets kidnapped by Thanos because the Guardians kind of confront him first. And they're nowhere. They went to nowhere, back to what's his name? Benicio's place. The Collector. Which, by the way, I went to Guardians at Disneyland, the Guardians ride, and it's got a big giant statue of the Collector in front, and then it's his whole museum. It's really cool. Got a big kick out of it. But anyway, I was kind of hoping Howard the Duck would show up. They go to nowhere. They find Thanos beating the shit out of Benicio, and I'm expecting at least.
So was that Benicio? Because I don't know. It didn't look like Benicio.
It was him. It was definitely him.
It was.
But
there was
by
a
the
couple
way,
moments
here's
where
the other brain fry. It wasn't actually the Collector, because Thanos had altered reality.
Right.
Which was fucking. And he's
So
in the cage going,
Benicio-
waving goodbye.
Thanos is played by
Brolin.
Josh Brolin, who with Benicio del Toro coming in with my second favorite movie coming out probably this year, Sicario 2.
The Sicario 2.
Have you seen the first one?
Yes, I have.
Dude,
A long time ago.
Oh, awesome! But I thought that was interesting that two of the main characters from it are in this. But anyways, regardless of that, you're right. He does beat him up, and then when what's her name, Gamora, shows up, I was like, what the hell? That was pretty, and not thinking about where you're going with this.
That's what happened next. The Guardians respond to a distress call.
Correct.
Because Thanos had destroyed not Asgardian, but whatever ship it was. I guess it was Asgardian. And, of course, they're thinking they're going to get paid. And of course, it's always wonderful to see all the Guardians on the Milano, which the Milano must have gotten a refit because it looks very different.
Very different.
Just interacting back and forth.
It is a couple years
after.
Think about the Guardian timeline. This is several years after.
So...
Yeah, but they're traveling through space.
Yeah, but it's still several years after.
Okay, don't start with Einstein theory. Yeah. You don't.
So from Guardians 2 to now, we're talking about 4 or 5 years after.
Right. Yeah.
So
they've been cruising around for a while, and what's great though is they cruise into the devastation. They see that it's all dark and crazy, and they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then suddenly, bam! Thor hits the windshield. Like, what is that?
Oh, wipe it off!
And then they do the Jurassic Park eye open.
The windshield wiper. Wipe them off.
Oh my god, that was funny. Who the hell are you guys? Drax. Drax is in love with Thor.
Well, hold on. They bring him on the ship. Thor on the ship. They lay him there, and Chris Pratt's character,
Star-Lord,
is not impressed.
No.
But he says, "Well, what was the comment he made? Something about him being a boy."
Like, who is this dude?
This dude. Yeah.
And Drax goes,
that is
"No,
not a dude.
You're a dude. That's a man."
What a great line in that movie.
Oh my god, Drax had some of the best lines actually.
He always does.
Yeah, he does.
But this is that whole. The people who needed to be in the comedy aspect of the movie, they literally were. Because there's literally 3 different sections of each one. You got the comedy section, the dark section, which is like Captain America, and
I think the character that was actually serviced the least was Captain.
Yeah, because I think that in part. Okay, so I'm not jumping ahead,
right.
But I've heard some stuff that might happen with Captain America.
All right.
And I don't know if I'm the only one that's heard this, but I've heard that
everyone's talking rumors back and forth about that. Okay, Jay, you've been oddly quiet. Nothing we've gotten to yet that you have any questions or comments about?
No, I mean, I think we should stick with the groups that we're doing, like as they branch off. It'll make a lot more sense instead of going through.
So as we start, the only kind of weird meshing going on is literally the Thor scene at the beginning with Hulk and Thor. But they that's not really a mesh. They came from Ragnarok together.
Ragnarok, so they're
together. I was bummed to see Heimdall, but of course Idris is like, I got other shit to do.
Yeah.
So because I thought Heimdall was a great character.
Don't they all really?
Oh yeah, that's true. Not really. There's a lot of money being thrown. Like, I think Robert Downey said he was going to quit, like, I don't know, 5 years ago until the truck of money backed into beep, beep.
I expected this to be his last one. And then
that was another fake out. And we'll get, that was messed up.
Well, that also screwed everything up, but I don't want to get into the plot yet.
When Thor said, was it Thor that said this or Doctor Strange? No, it was Captain that said this. Captain America. Earth's #1 protector is gone. And I'm like, who the fuck is he referring to? I'm like, he must be referring to Iron Man because Iron Man got sucked up with the ship.
Yeah.
Like, who else could he be referring to? Yeah. Which I thought was interesting for Steve to say. Mm-hmm. You know, but anyway, they didn't really pay off the whole... They paid off a little bit of the fugitive thing. I guess we should move to Earth a little bit because the Vision is hiding out fucking Scarlet Witch, which I would too. Yeah. Man, how many shots of her boobs were in this movie? Jesus Christ.
Good shot.
Plenty.
And then there were other, like Gamora, Zoe Saldana, and Scarlet. Of course, my girlfriend, Scarlett Johansson. Hot as fuck. But man, Scarlet Witch, her boobs were just out.
Hey, Disney knows what they're doing.
That's right. Disney knows what they're doing. But they're hiding out boning. And Vision's having this whole, existential crisis.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And they get attacked by what is essentially the Minions of Apocalypse Marvel version of them.
Dark is basically Thanos' children.
The children of Thanos.
Yeah.
And which Gamora should have been, which plays into later. Attack him. Where are they? Prague or something? I don't remember where they're hiding. They're hiding somewhere in Europe or something.
Scotland,
yeah.
That's it, yeah.
And then out of nowhere, here comes Steve Rogers out of the shadows and bails their asses out. Steve and who else? Falcon. And who else was... Oh, Scarlet. Black Widow. We're there. I really like what they did with Black Widow in terms of... Because she's like... Now that Hawkeye's out, for now, she's the only person there with no powers at all.
She's still fucking badass.
She's still badass. And she's badass in a way that makes sense, which is, again, leads back to Justice League. I was watching Justice League this morning, and what they did with Batman didn't make sense. Like, the action just did not make sense. It didn't work in any kind of functional reality. Mm-hmm. Not that these are reality movies, of course, but they have their own reality they've established, and it works. If they stick to it, it works. And Justice League, the action shots with Ben or the stunt double or the CGI double just didn't look right. But Scarlet and Black Widow looked amazing.
Yeah.
And her stunt double was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, made it look realistic, almost fast enough to beat a creature or an alien being who has way more power than you do.
Yeah.
And yet still kind of holding her own.
Oh, yeah. And, of course, they save Vision and Scarlet Witch, and they go back to... Now, Captain America says home.
I'm thinking
and you're like,
Wakanda.
Does home mean New York? Because New York's under attack at this point. Does home mean Wakanda? Because that's where he was at the end of Civil War. Or does home mean Avengers... Not Avengers Tower, but Avengers Station, which eventually that's what it ended up meaning.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get to Don Cheadle, who's walking with prosthesis. And basically telling General Ross to go fuck himself. I thought that was interesting because as we all are familiar with, the military aspect.
Yeah, well, there's a court-martial.
Yeah, because him and Sam and Captain are all soldiers. They're actual enlisted soldiers. And for them to technically, I guess,
commissioned soldiers.
Black Widow kind of is a government agent too. Yeah. And for them to just go fuck it, that's kind of a big deal. And I don't think the average civilian is going to understand that. And I think that was a lot bigger than it came off. I think that might have been meant just for people like us, I guess. Yes, Jeff?
The other thing about that I noticed was it was all the people who served with the government that told the government to go fuck themselves, and all the people who never served with the government are looking at those that did and being like, why are you being like this? I like that aspect of it, too. Because... you do.
Well, it kind of goes into what we talked about with Civil War. With they're both right.
Yeah, the whole Accords.
Yeah. The Sokovian Accords.
Sokovian Accords, yeah.
And even Cheadle says at one point, well, if the Sokovian Accords hadn't been done, Vision would be standing right here.
Yeah.
You know, because Vision's the one that's like, fuck this, I'm way above this stuff. I'm gonna go fuck what's her name.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, go arrest this man.
Which actually, it occurred to me, who's the actor that plays Vision?
Oh, Vision. Oh, Paul Bettany.
He and Robert Downey are the only ones. And Piper, apparently from Gwyneth, are the only originals from the first start of the MCU. They're the only three because they were in Iron Man. He was Jarvis.
He played the voice of Jarvis.
He was Jarvis.
That's right.
So those are the only three characters that have been through the whole thing. Now, granted, Gwyneth has come and gone a little bit here and there. So really,
but
Jarvis and Tony.
She made the obligatory.
We're gonna have a kid, which totally foreshadows, and I think as a feint, Tony's death.
Yes. Not yet. Trust
Now,
me.
I will mention.
I believe there's more with the 4. So
the nanotech kind of bugged me a little bit because it was too easy. Like his suit just kept rebuilding itself no matter how much punishment it took. I mean, Thanos at one point literally rips his helmet off and then it just grows right back. Like, okay, that was weird. But I guess if you're going up against a god, that's the only way they could make that work. But at any rate, so where are we? Anybody?
hold on here.
Let's go back to space now. We're the
So we've bypassed the whole Doctor Strange, Tony.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. That's way down. That's way down.
Right, but you said what else is out there?
That's true. So we'll get to that. That's a good hanker point.
So then we get the Guardians and Thor.
Yeah. Thor gets the Guardians to go off on 2 different missions.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. One to go to nowhere.
And the morons went somewhere else.
The morons go to nowhere.
That was the best humor in the whole movie. Was the Guardians and Thor stuff.
And then
funny.
Rocket and Thor and Groot go off to go to the Forge.
Later, morons.
The Forge planet.
And then Gamora and Peter Quill, Star-Lord, and they go off to nowhere.
And that's where Gamora tells Peter.
And Drax.
That's where Gamora tells Peter, look, I know my dad.
Okay.
Because we all know that Thanos and Gamora are not blood related, but have a connection where it's father-daughter.
I got to tell you, though, I am so sick of the if he gets me, kill me thing. I hate that shit. That's a trope that's been beat to death.
But with this one, with the seriousness of
it took me out of it, though.
Well, Gamora knew. Gamora fucking knew.
Well, she knew where the Soul Stone was, which we don't know yet. We don't know that yet in the movie.
But she knew it there.
Well, obviously,
yeah. Alluded it.
Yeah, but she told her sister.
Nova.
That was a cheap cop.
Or what's her name? Is it Nova or is it? No.
Yeah. No. She told her sister back in Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Which was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean,
so
if she knows that, she's not going to tell her sister. Ever. That was such a cheap cop out.
Just so Thanos could... That was an ex machina, so Thanos could get the information.
Yeah.
Because he captured Nova.
No, but here's the deal.
Nebula. Nebula. The Nova Corps.
Yeah,
Nebula.
Nebula, that dialogue happened 3 years ago when Guardians 2 was released.
Yes, I remember. They replayed that very scene. They cut to like a R2-D2 style hologram.
Right. That's not a cop-out. That was...
set up by Paul Feig.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was set up.
But or is it Feige? Feige?
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry.
Hey. You knew it was coming.
Well, no, because I don't remember all this shit like you guys do.
Again, you don't watch it repeatedly like we do.
Yes.
We watch it repeatedly.
Yes.
You
soak everything in. But to me, I mean, even if that was set up, that's still a cop out. It's so easy. Like, oh, I just pulled the information from your sister. She's not. I don't believe that she ever would have told her sister if it wasn't written for this reason.
But I do think it led to an interesting aspect of Thanos' character. Like, we needed to get past that point where he needed to find out where the stone was, to get to the point where he had to sacrifice something.
Right.
And I think that made Thanos a very interesting character, in my opinion.
That humanized what he was doing. That gave a reason to what he was doing. It wasn't just he's this murderous thug out there trying to destroy every planet like Darkseid is, or
he was definitely more complex than Darkseid. That's true.
There's a reason. He watched it happen. He committed to the logic, to his own government. Saw it, they didn't follow it. Saw it fail, and so now he's got to go and save all of the universes.
But I
mean,
you're saying it's a cop out how he, if he's a good.
I think it was a cheap ploy, a cheap way to find out the information by torturing the sister.
Okay, but we already knew that she knew that information, are you saying it's a cheap ploy with the screenwriting, or are you saying it's a cheap ploy?
Maybe they wrote themselves into a corner that they had to get out of.
They may have. It's just. I'm
because
just saying.
Because what I will say is, I don't remember all. Because what I love about this particular movie is that it took a massive, multi-characteral comic book
Right.
series and incorporated it and said, okay, we're making a movie now of a storyline. They've been building it up. That's not a cheap ploy because this is what happened, or
Before.
a possible storyline that happened in the comic book. And the thing is the beauty of this is how Thanos has always treated Gamora.
So
And we're going to fast forward.
when Thanos and Gamora are having a conversation in front of the chair,
Yeah.
did you already know that?
Now let's preface this for a second by saying that Gamora was taken by Thanos. Peter agreed to kill Gamora, and then he didn't even chicken out.
No.
He killed her, and then Thanos changed
Use the
reality
stone. Yeah,
to
reality.
change the blast to a bunch of bubbles.
Right.
And so now Thanos has Gamora as a prisoner.
And what kind of thing does he have for bubbles? Because he kept doing the bubbles.
Yeah, he did that a couple times, didn't he?
It's because it's soft and bubbly.
He's
So
got
so
bubbles.
did you know that Nova? What's her name?
What, Nova or Gamora?
Nova.
Nebula.
Did you
Nebula.
Nebula. Yeah.
Did you know she was in the back and had already given her the information? Did you?
I
already-
did not know
No.
that, but I
Giving
but,
them
but I
the
do.
information?
Did you already have that inkling? Because
I had an inkling that we haven't seen Nebula yet,
Right.
Right.
and I also know
That's
that
true.
how Thanos has treated Nebula through the comics and the movies.
Right.
That there's he's a very torturous son of a bitch when it comes to Nebula.
Well, Gamora was his favorite child.
Right, and Nebula was not.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had in the back of my mind that if Nebula's going to show up, it's going to be in a very torturous scene. I didn't expect that, but it does not surprise me that that's how it happened.
Later
Now,
on,
if you call that a very cop out toward right to lead into this next scene, meh,
Jeff,
doesn't
yes,
bother
Jeff.
me.
Gamora and Nebula, you learn that Gamora was taken, which you should have figured out, but they actually go into
Because
that
you
scene
knew
of
she was
explaining that.
going there.
So you figure both these daughters were taken from somewhere. So they're not really his daughters, but when it comes to kids that he took as his own, like adopted, yes, then Gamora was his favorite of the two. And between those two daughters, there's always been that rivalry to make a love-hate for
see who
Dad.
comes out on top.
And so these two daughters, knowing they're not blood to him, don't really feel like 100% loyalty to him. So in a way, Gamora may have said something to the sister because the entire time she's trying to get the other sister, Nebula, to wake up and understand it. And in the heat of the moment when these two are fighting, like they were when she leaked the information, she may have said that.
Yeah.
So
Right,
that's
but
not
I think she did, if I
necessarily
remember,
a
yeah.
cop out.
This was no surprise that,
Yeah.
that Nebula knew this.
Right.
It really wasn't,
Right.
and you knew where Nebula was going from Guardians 2. So at least from continuity aspect,
Yeah. Now this kind of
The
steps
torture scene for Nebula, though, was
that was badass.
crazy.
I
It was
bet that
it
looks
was
good in
beautiful.
3D. I
That-
bet that does.
that is pure comic book
That
genius.
Oh,
was
yeah.
awesome.
That was from the comic books.
Yeah, that was
back in the day.
Very good,
Oh,
man.
yeah. And how she got out of it too was
Well,
pretty
but
close.
what I liked about it, when you first see Nebula, she's suspended in air. You're looking straight on at her. You
So
don't notice
she looks
anything.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as the camera pans left or right, you realize she's in an absolute stretched.
Do you remember the movie The Cell with
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio, where the horse that was dissected? That's kind of what it reminded me of. That same scene.
It was very good.
Yeah.
No, there's some Thanos and comic books from back in the past where there were some scenes of Nebula being stretched or being put together because of how he treated her, and that paid homage to that, and it also paid homage to the Guardians 2, her conversation with Gamora.
Yeah.
When she was talking about, you don't know what he did to me.
Yeah.
Every time I lost you, he split me apart.
Which,
and put
with
it
her
back together.
dissected like that, implies that I could not see one organic piece of her.
Right.
The brain
brain.
was shaped like organic, but it was shiny like it was metal. Almost like the brain was encased in metal.
Right.
That might have been the only thing organic about her.
I don't know much about her, but yeah, that was pretty insane.
But that kind of leads to actually my absolute number one favorite reveal of the entire movie. Thanos has Gamora and basically takes her on the search for the Soul Stone because she had burned the map and whatnot. And they find what looks like death. What looks like death for a second.
Correct.
And I was just like, oh, death. But then I thought, if they bring death in, they got to bring Deadpool in.
Until you hear the voice.
To hear the voice. But even the voice, I wasn't, because I've listened to that guy's voice for years, since Agent Smith, and then Lord of the Rings, and then Red Skull. What's his name? I can't believe I can't remember his name.
Oh, the actor's name?
Yeah. Fucking A.
He's in Lord of the Rings.
He's everything. I can't believe I can't remember his name.
You know
Agent Smith, one of the best villains ever. The Red Skull shows up out of nowhere.
And you're right.
And actually,
you and I both went, oh!
Oh, I was like,
And Jay goes, who's that?
Who's that guy?
I heard you say that, and I didn't want to look at you.
And see, I knew that was happening.
Oh, I didn't know that
I did
at all.
not. I love
Only
the
because I'm a spoiler guy, so I do the spoilers.
advanced research.
Advanced research. I knew this was happening.
The best part about that
and I
was,
still loved it. I still loved it.
The best part about that was because it's been so long since Captain America.
Right,
is that
right.
He actually explained why he's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Not even that.
Lifetime ago.
Not even that. Of all the people that have been through all the Marvel movies, he's the first one you immediately forget. You hear nothing, no hints, no leads,
And that's
no
what
nothing.
pisses me off.
And he was
because
pivotal.
The Red Skull was one of my favorite Marvel character bad guys from back in the day. And you kind of didn't do him. You kind of only did a small justice in Captain America, and then to re-bring him back, I loved it.
The thing that baked my noodle about that, though, when I thought about it, even during the movie, and I thought back, the scene in Captain America, First Avenger, when he finds the fake Tesseract and then breaks it. Remember that? It's exactly what Thanos did with the real Tesseract.
Yeah.
Same scene, same angle, same shot in the right hand, and shatters the Tesseract and then takes the stone out.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, oh, that looks just like the scene with Red Skull, and then sure enough, like 10 scenes later, there he is.
It pays homage to that.
Yeah.
But it also just shows you how powerful fucking Thanos really is.
Oh yeah. We kind of been bypassing the whole Iron Man part of this stuff.
So hang on, let's continue since we're at this scene.
Okay.
So, huge spoiler: Gamora dies.
Yeah.
Which you see that coming.
Yeah.
As soon
as he says sacrifice.
So
That's to get.
Are they gonna do another Guardians without her?
Hold on.
How does all of that work?
Hold on.
You can't.
Because there's going to be a Guardians 3.
Right.
They've already said that.
Which is going to be like the search for Gamora.
No.
You know?
Right.
No.
No search for Spock? No, really?
Then there's also Avengers 4. So just, we'll get to there.
Okay. Because I'm wondering that too.
Because remember, Guardians, what happened here was like 6 years after Guardians 2. So the Guardians 3 might have
A prequel to it?
either before that to lead up to how they got to Thor, possibly, or we'll talk about how Avengers 4 might roll in and then Guardians 3.
You're got a good point though.
I'm thoroughly confused by what he just said.
No, I kind of get it. I
got it. I got it till his last
Because
few words.
there is a comic book series that actually addresses this whole bullshit.
I wish this was on video.
I know.
He's really excited, really animated.
If I didn't know any better, he was going to cast a spell
I
on
know.
everybody with the way
He's going to whip out the fucking
Doctor Strange over here.
You know what? I love that hand movement with
I
Doctor
do
Strange.
too, I do.
It's very Tai Chi, very martial arts oriented.
No,
So I love the whole fact that he's not using his gloves.
Strange.
The whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because at the very end of Doctor Strange,
that's right.
he has his nice cool ass leather fucking gloves.
Yeah.
And now he has no leather gloves.
Well, the whole point of the Doctor Strange movie was his hands. Like, was the whole issue.
Yeah. But he still has the scars and everything.
Yeah, so he's vain. He's paranoid.
So I'm
about
wondering if in Doctor Strange 2.
But in Ragnarok, does he have them on either? I don't know. I have to watch.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think he does in Ragnarok either. Which, of course, takes place like 10
I
minutes
literally
before.
just watched it yesterday.
Ragnarok
And
takes
I don't
place
even
literally
know.
like an hour before this movie starts.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're right. The Gamora thing. Now, I'll just say this right now. As far as not all, but most of the superhero villains in all, like from Superman the movie forward, Thanos is pretty high up there for me as one of my favorite superhero villains.
He is the most badass fucking...
Even Terrence Stamp as Zod, who is probably my number one. He's played it subtle and then played it over the top. Both. Thanos plays it subtle the entire film, except for like one scene where he gets pissed.
He doesn't come off as a complete total psycho.
No, he's right.
No,
he's
knows-
absolutely right.
He knows the direction he wants.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing because he's committed to which I'm not jumping too far ahead. Hello, Jason. You awake over there, big guy? You feeling anything? All right. I see you
Chase
zoned
fading
up.
fast.
Yeah, he's the thing with
I feel like
Thanos
he's
is,
waiting to get to a scene.
which you learn you learn it here in the movie, is his whole goal is to reduce the population of the universe.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
And he goes through the whole explanation, and in my head there's
Makes
kind of a
perfect
dark
sense.
deep secret about our
Why?
own world.
Yep.
Our own world
We
about being
could use a good plague
overpopulated.
right now.
Which, oddly enough, you said that there was literally a news article talking about a plague that could hit and wipe out some whatever over 6 months. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who's going to plant it? But we're not going to get down there. But yeah, it was there's like a really deep thing when you watch it, because Thanos is like, look, in order to save you all,
I have to
a
do
good
this.
chunk of you have to die.
And that's the other thing about his kids that he takes. They're examples of his point.
Right.
Gamora's world would have died just the same way Thanos' world did.
Which, by the way, he explains to her.
that they
Yeah.
were saved, and
Yeah.
so was she.
Yes.
And they are metaphors for the what he thinks is the right thing. And frankly, it's just like Civil War. When we talked about Civil War, both sides are right. Same with here. Both sides are exactly right. He's a homicidal maniac. He makes perfect fucking sense. It's both correct.
And it's so weird because you and I know we're probably stretching to say that with what's going on in our own world, but
I don't think so. I think it's a metaphor for
I
exactly
think-
what's going on.
I remember thinking to myself when I was real young, I remember thinking there's only 2 billion, 3 billion people in the
There's
world.
4 when we were
And now
kids.
there's like 6
7
to
or 8,
7.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at what's going on in California and all of them moving up just for water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, up to Portland and
Fucking
Washington.
Californians.
Not just for water, but strongly for water.
Yeah.
And California
strongly-
wants to secede too. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is that about? They have
Yeah, I
no
know.
water if they leave.
Yeah. But I mean, it really is. It's about resources, and
Yeah.
there's not enough here or there going around. Or, we all grew up with the whole, African aid stuff. Flying rice and stuff. because
We
there's
all
nothing
are
else.
the
world.
I
You
mean,
mean we
grew up-
military people? Or
No, I
are
mean,
No,
we-
as kids.
we
We're
as
talking
kids.
our Gen Xers.
Okay,
That's what we're talking
okay.
about.
We saw that all throughout the 80s and
Yes.
90s that there's not enough food. And
We knew it was coming back then. It's just like back in the 30s and 40s, everybody knew cigarettes caused cancer.
There's that. And think of all the... Oh, is it time for a break?
I need to pee and.
All right, we'll take a
Can we
break.
take a quick-
Hang on, it's okay. It's good to cut these
Can
up
we
anyway.
collect our thoughts and maybe reset?
God, my ass is killing me.